For millennia, his name was whispered with trembling breath. Azazel, a being whose existence altered the destiny of humanity, an angel whose rebellion brought darkness, violence, and a divine judgment so catastrophic that the earth was never the same again. What you are about to read is not merely an ancient tale, but a mosaic of lost fragments, forbidden texts, hidden passages, and echoes from a time when angels walked among humans, and humanity paid the price for trusting them. Today, you will discover the fuller truth. Who was Azazel, really? Why was his punishment more severe than that of any other fallen angel? And how is his name connected to the Nephilim and the prophetic shadows of the end times? Take a deep breath. What follows is one of the most unsettling and concealed stories in all sacred literature. Long before Adam opened his eyes, before sunlight bathed the earth, a silent conflict began stirring in the heavens. This was not a war of swords or shouts. It was a rebellion of subtle desire, of pride growing like poison. Among the angels created to shine with the glory of the Most High, some began to turn their gaze away from the throne. They longed for something they were never meant to crave: independence. Among them stood one whose brilliance rivaled all others, Azazel, one of the Watchers. The Watchers were appointed to observe humanity from a distance. They were not to intervene, teach, or cross boundaries. Their duty was simply to protect humankind as celestial sentinels. Yet some Watchers began questioning these limits. Two figures soon rose as leaders of this forbidden yearning: Shemhaza, the emotional rebel longing for human experience, and Azazel, the strategist whose ambition was far more dangerous. Shemhaza desired connection. Azazel desired control. He wanted to mold humanity, shape their progress, and bind them to his teachings. He craved recognition, admiration, even worship. Ancient writings suggest that while Lucifer sought glory in heaven, Azazel was the first to seek dominion on earth. According to the Book of Enoch, Shemhaza gathered 200 watchers atop Mount Hermon, a place of deep spiritual resonance. There they swore an oath. They would descend, take human wives, and share heavenly knowledge with mortals. But while the others descended out of desire or curiosity, Azazel descended with purpose. He knew exactly what he would teach. His plan was methodical and devastating. When the Watchers descended, humanity was mesmerized. For the first time, humans saw beings whose faces shone like fire, whose eyes glimmered with starlight. People bowed before them in awe and fascination. Other angels taught small things: herbalism, astronomy, simple arts. Azazel taught war. He instructed men to forge swords, shape metal, fortify iron, and sharpen bronze. He turned peaceful tribes into armies. He taught them to kill. To women, he revealed the arts of adornment, cosmetic enchantments, seductive influence. He taught them how to manipulate desire, alter appearances, and wield beauty as power. Azazel corrupted bodies and souls. This knowledge shattered the divine balance. Humanity was not ready for such power, neither the violence nor the seduction. And then came the greatest abomination, the Nephilim. The children born from unions between angels and human women were giants, colossal beings with unnatural strength. They were called the Nephilim, the fallen ones. Humanity worshipped them and feared them. They seized lands, devoured resources, conquered cities, and ruled as tyrants. The world descended into chaos, violence, greed, oppression, and bloodshed. Every tear shed, every innocent life destroyed, traced back to Azazel's teachings. He had changed creation itself. The earth became so corrupted that the ancient texts declare every flesh had corrupted its way. Then God ordered 4 archangels to intervene: Michael, to bind the Watchers; Gabriel, to destroy the Nephilim; Regal, to judge the rebellious angels; Raphael, to punish Azazel. The Watchers panicked and begged Enoch to intercede on their behalf. God's answer was final: no forgiveness, no mercy. Their deeds had altered creation. Shemahazah and the 200 watchers would be imprisoned. But Azazel, his sentence would be unlike any other. Raphael, the archangel of healing, received the darkest mission recorded in ancient writings, to bind the corrupter of the earth. He descended from heaven like a bolt of lightning splitting the sky. Azazel watched the world burning with the very weapons he had taught humans to craft. Raphael confronted him in a desolate mountain region where shadows moved like living things. He declared, "You have corrupted the earth. You have taught violence, seduction, manipulation, and destruction. For your sake, the innocent have fallen. For your sake, blood cries out from the ground." Azazel replied with cold pride, "I only opened humanity's eyes." Raphael raised the celestial chain crafted to imprison spiritual beings and pronounced, Azazel's fate. "You will be bound in darkness until the day of the final judgment." Raphael hurled Azazel into Dudil, a spiritual abyss described as a desolate wasteland of sharp rocks, void of light and life. The ground split open. Darkness swallowed him whole. The divine chain bound his essence. The mountain sealed itself like a tomb. Azazel was not destroyed. He was left conscious. And that was the true punishment, an eternity of silence, isolation, and humiliation. But although Azazel was imprisoned, the seeds he planted in humanity remained. Weapons persisted. Violence evolved. Seduction intensified. Pride grew. Forbidden knowledge multiplied. His legacy walked freely across the ages. Gabriel was commanded to eliminate the Nephilim. Their downfall shook the foundations of the earth, but humanity was already deeply corrupted. So God sent the flood not only to cleanse wickedness, but to erase Azazel's legacy. Yet even after the waters receded, traces of that corruption survived in human nature. This is why, centuries later, his name still appeared in Hebrew rituals, especially on Yom Kippur, in the ritual of the scapegoat. One goat was sacrificed for purification. The other was sent into the desert for Azazel, not as an offering, but as a return of the sins he introduced. The Book of Revelation describes a time when the abyss will be opened and imprisoned beings will be released to torment the earth. Among them is a leader called Apollyon Abaddon, the Destroyer. For centuries, scholars have asked, could this be Azazel? The parallels are striking. Azazel was imprisoned in a desert abyss. Revelation speaks of a destroyer emerging from the abyss. Azazel was held responsible for corrupting humanity. Revelation's destroyer leads a plague of torment. Many believe they are the same being or at least connected within the same prophetic structure. And if Azazel returns, it will not be as a visible monster, but as a global influence. The same influence he wielded before the flood. Violence, seduction, pride, domination, forbidden knowledge, but multiplied by modern technology. Weapons are now millions of times more deadly. Seduction spreads through digital screens. Manipulation reaches billions instantly. Human pride is celebrated. Knowledge can destroy with a single click. Humanity has created the perfect landscape for Azazel's influence to reawaken. Ancient traditions teach that before the end times, humanity will return to the same spiritual condition that existed before the flood. And what do we see today? Global violence, hypersexualization, mass manipulation, idolization of appearance. Spiritual apathy. Pride celebrated as virtue, knowledge without morality, division and hatred. Corruption of identity and purpose. This is not random evolution. It is repetition, a cycle, a shadow returning. A world unknowingly preparing the way for the same influence that once destroyed civilizations. If released, Azazel would not appear as a titan nor a winged creature. He would return as an idea, a philosophy, a cultural movement, a whisper of power, a spiritual influence. He would offer exactly what humanity desires: freedom without responsibility, knowledge without boundaries. Power without morality, light without truth, a false enlightenment. This is Azazel's ultimate deception. He does not offer darkness. He offers false light, and false light blinds. Ancient writings describe an invisible spiritual war that unfolds within human hearts. Every time a value is preserved, the light prevails. Every time it is destroyed, the shadows advance. This is what old mystics called the war of heaven for the human soul. Azazel is feared not for physical strength, but because he understands the human heart. He seduces. He deceives. He manipulates. He plants ideas that seem brilliant but lead to destruction. He is not an external enemy. He is an internal influence. The Book of Enoch describes Azazel's ultimate fate. In that day, he shall be cast into the eternal fire. This time, he will not be imprisoned. He will be annihilated, his name erased, his influence extinguished, his power shattered forever. Why? Because Azazel represents everything incompatible with the restored creation. Pride, corruption, violence, domination, rebellion. The universe cannot be renewed while such a force exists. The destruction of Azazel symbolizes the purification of creation. The story of Azazel is not only about an angel who fell, it is about the shadow within every human being. Because everything he represents, power, pride, seduction, violence, rebellion, exists inside us too. The real abyss is not the one in the desert. It is the one that opens inside the human heart. But the same light that will defeat Azazel in the final days is available now. The message is clear. Evil does not win. Shadow does not last. Pride does not endure. Light always returns. No matter how deep the darkness, the light is deeper. No matter how ancient the shadow, the light is eternal. And the final victory over Azazel is the greatest symbol of this truth.